wish more people talked about their ideas getting taken and what to do if you're running a startup and your idea gets stolen from you. Hello YouTube, welcome back. I am Alexa Curtis, a former Disney host and currently the founder of Be Fearless Inc. We are a reinvented career fair as well as a community helping young women reach their fullest potential through our summits and through this awesome platform that I've been able to build over the past 10 years. And through that, I do a lot of different videos and talks about entrepreneurship. And I was talking the other day and I had this memory about when my idea got stolen twice actually in the course of the past 7 years since I started my business. And it is a really good learning lesson for those of you who want to be entrepreneurs, because this one idea in particular actually ended up being a multi-million dollar company. They raised a ton of money. And the reason I didn't end up getting to the level that they did is because I was too afraid, to be honest, to do it on my own. So to back up a little bit, back in 2016, I started out my career because I was writing for a bunch of different magazines. I ended up cold pitching websites and magazines like Huffington Post, Parade Magazine, the New York Times, and I landed myself a bunch of freelance writing gigs. And that may sound shocking to some of you because I was literally this nobody off the street and I'm like over here writing for these massive platforms unpaid, but I was able to get my name out in a lot of different ways through these writing gigs. And so if you are questioning whether or not you should take the leap, whether you should go ahead and write the email, the answer is always yes, because I would not be where I am today if I had not done that. But I wanted to get into more of the creative writing side. And so I had pitched 17 magazine and got a meeting in New York at Hearst, which is how 17 magazine is owned, what they're owned by, the major publishing company. And I landed a major meeting with Hearst magazines and I pitched them this whole basically takeover on social media and the website with influencers and bloggers at the time who were doing really amazing things. This was probably back in 2015 or 2016. So before the word, honestly, influencer was even a thing. I was out there pitching this idea and I did pitch it to them. And I remember so clearly sitting, it's really cool actually. So these magazines, they've got these large classroom, kitchen style areas. This was also how it was at Disney. I don't even know if that's the right word, but areas where people sit and eat lunch. It's like seriously high school and they've got all this amazing food. And Hearst has this. So it is a large floor and there's different areas to eat. There is different places to get coffee and everyone sits at these large communal style coffee tables and lunch tables and eats their lunch. And it's quite funny actually because it looks like a high school movie, even though everyone sitting in this room is seriously important in media. So anywho, I go down to New York, I pitch her this idea. Of course, she's completely amazed by it, has never heard of it before. And what do I see in 17 magazine 3 months later? This exact idea without me in it. So I do remember sending her an email telling her that this was kind of frustrating that she had taken this idea and not included me in it. I remember getting an email back saying something like, I'm really sorry, but we had circulated this idea before, basically bullshit. We had circulated this idea before, and so we were pursuing it already, which was not true because she had told me point blank that they were not pursuing it. And I was young at the time. It would have been great to be included, but moral of the story is people in business are gonna steal your ideas. So even if you talk about them to people, they may get taken. So sometimes you just need to implement them on your own so that you don't deal with someone taking your idea and it originally having come from you and you could have been the person to make this happen. If those of you have been following me for a while, you might remember Mentor Match, which was this mentor matching platform I started on my website back 2 years ago now. I had come up with the idea to match mentors with mentees through my website, lifeunfilteredwithalexa.com, and I ended up building out with my website developer a super cheap beta version of this. And so you could go on, book a call with a mentor and get matched with them. Well, of course, it's now 2.5 years later and there's a major company that does this called Intro. They've raised millions of dollars to do exactly what I was doing back then. Now, I don't know that they necessarily stole my idea, but I can tell you I had never heard about Intro before I started Mentor Match. And so definitely this idea that they had worked and scaled better than mine did.
Just basically thoroughly vetted mentors that we match with tons of different mentees, usually who are in college. So we are the middleman that helps match you with a mentor in a way that's never been done before. That's super easy and seamless, and you know you're getting that amazing relationship without having to personally go out and ask someone to be your mentor. Now,
and unfortunately, I probably could have been that founder who went and made it into an app and a website like they did. But at the time, I was 23. I was really nervous about failing. I was really nervous about investing my own money, which I didn't have a lot of at the time, to make this app or website a thing. And so I did it on a very small level. It ended up getting picked up in Good Morning America. So there was massive press around Mentor Match, but it just didn't work. I mean, the whole thing, for whatever reason, it didn't get to where Intro did today. And I've done a lot of research on, the founders and how they raised money. And I think a lot of it has to do with timing, connections, and money. The biggest struggle for entrepreneurs is finances, right? You don't know if this idea is gonna work. At the time I'm 23, I could have maybe taken out $100,000, $200,000 loan to build this into this incredible platform like they did, but there's also a possibility that it wasn't gonna work. And so my fear was, if I do that, and I've taken an insane amount of risk throughout my career, but money was what I needed to make Mentor Match a thing, to make it what Intro is now. And I was too young and scared to take out that amount of money and have it against my name. I didn't go to college, so I have never experienced that amount of debt that I know a lot of you who follow me are in. And I give you a lot of credit for taking the leap. But to me, that leap that I would have taken with Mentor Match would have been similar to what it would have been if I had gone to college. And I was always really keen on not going to college and building out my own life and platform so that I didn't have to get into the amount of debt that a lot of college students are in and a lot of founders are in. And now looking back, I am slightly frustrated I didn't do that because of what Intro is now. But again, it's just timing and how much and how obsessed are you with this idea. I had never done anything like mentorship before in that capacity, and I had definitely never built an app before. I had tried to build some form of an app back in 2014, and it didn't end up raising any money. It was similar to a Third Love, kind of this bra creation app. And I didn't know about tech enough to be able to ask people the right things and make the right amount of money for it. And it was kind of the same thing. That's why that didn't work. And this is just part of the journey of being an entrepreneur, is some things work and some things don't. But you can't get caught up and frustrated if your idea gets taken or someone does it better than you have. Because after having done this for so long, 10 years now, I can just tell you the amount of things I've tried that haven't worked, and I tell you the amount of things that I've tried that have worked. And you just never know when that thing is gonna hit, right? When that one phone call is gonna get you that dream job, or $100,000 or $200,000 from that investor. What I know now, I would have been able to build in Mentor Match into what Intro is, but at the end of the day, the idea has been done now. Someone did it better than I have, and I just remind myself, which is also part of being resilient and pivoting when you're an entrepreneur. I just remind myself that that just wasn't my moment and that wasn't my idea. And I think if you can have a head like I have on your shoulders when you're trying to pursue entrepreneurship and run a startup, you'll end up way wiser and way happier in the future than most entrepreneurs who end up giving up, because you're aware of the fact that a lot of things are a hit and miss. And if you give up on that first try, that second try, that third try, you're never going to be successful. So there is a new episode actually of The New Unfiltered out. If you haven't seen Gail's video, you can watch it right now on YouTube. You should absolutely watch this video and this interview with Gail, because it's also a reminder that most people who are incredibly successful start companies further into their 40s.
How it is that you could get yourself to a point where you leave that security and literally bet on a vegetable.
In my case, I really think it took something pretty dramatic, like the passing of my dad, to make me stop and realize I need to get off this treadmill, because believe me, starting your own business is about 1,000 times harder. It was just unfulfilling. You reach a certain point where you're looking for more meaning. Things like losing someone you love or going through a global pandemic makes you realize the fragility of life. What am I waiting for?
DM Cauliflower on Instagram after listening to Gail Becker to get a free Cauliflower product, anything that you want.
You don't have to be in your 20s like I am, or your teens like I was, to start. Most people do not scale and build companies when they're 12, 13, or 14. So don't let that fear of your age distract you from building out your own company. Just remind yourself that it takes time. And I think a lot of these successful entrepreneurs, hopefully that I've interviewed or that you've listened to on other podcasts or media outlets, remind you that this is a long journey and a long haul. And if you give up, someone's gonna come and take your idea. So that's it for this week's Fearless Friday. I'll be back next week with a new Fearless Friday of me on a helicopter, petrified because I am shockingly afraid of heights. And don't forget to subscribe to YouTube so you get a new notification every single time a video comes out. And I'll see you back next Wednesday for a new episode on YouTube.